Uh, Thank you, and first let me say it's great to be invited here, coming from the software side to your great gathering here. I will tell you a little bit about driver monitoring and eye tracking in cars. So I will start with just showing a short video.
This is our vision, to make technology and humanity see eye to eye, so the world can move forward towards a safer and more sustainable tomorrow. We develop groundbreaking eye tracking solutions that bridge the gap between human and artificial intelligence. Using infrared light, state-of-the-art cameras, and AI, our systems can track and interpret eye movements and facial expressions in any situation. So technology understands who we are, what we want, how we're feeling. Our expertise creates possibilities for new insights and products in a wide variety of fields. Today, our automotive solutions are embedded in production cars and the next generation of self-driving vehicles. Our research instruments give scientists a deeper understanding of human behavior every day at hundreds of universities and research sites around the world and above it.
Yeah, so really what we try to do with our systems is we bridge the gap between man and machine, and we develop eye tracking and have been doing so for about 20 years. I was the founder of the company 20 years ago. The way it works is that you place a camera or you place a couple of cameras in front of a person, in front of a driver. You emit infrared light and you do image processing calculations in order to detect the information about the eyes, about the face. You can detect the eyelids, the point of gaze, mouth movements, and so on. We're a Swedish company based in Gothenburg, Sweden. We have two business units. It's research instruments is where we started 20 years ago, where we sell high-end eye tracking systems to many demanding research applications. And we have a lot of customers within aviation as well, NASA, Boeing, US Air Force, as well as many car companies, car simulators, instrumented vehicles, and so on. But what's coming, what's the latest and what's really growing much faster now is the automotive solutions, where this kind of driver monitoring and eye tracking is making its way into cars. Pretty much like the forward-looking cameras were have been doing for the last decade. I mean, the launch of the forward-looking cameras were in 2007, and now they're in about 25 to 30 million cars per year. And we are making the same journey, but we are still just a few 100,000 cars per year. We're in the early days, so to say. We are located where our customers are located, in Detroit, Gothenburg, Chongqing, Tokyo. Hopefully soon in Korea as well. And we are currently the market leader in terms of number of vehicles under contract with the market leader in the automotive sector, and also in research eye tracking for difficult applications. But enough about the company. Let's dive into the nuts and bolts of the eye tracking in cars. Why do you have it? Why do you use it? What is it for? And it's about, I would say, the car is evolving right now. Let's say up until the 90s, is very high focus on making the cars safer through passive safety, such as airbags and better seat belts. But lately, it's been more and more active safety. and we are moving towards higher and higher levels of autonomy. And the fundamental issue behind it all is this hugely alarming number. I think it was when On Semi was presenting, these numbers were also on the screen. So we have about 1.2, 1.3 million casualties per year, which are traffic related, worldwide this is. And about 50 million people who are injured, more or less severe. But just think about what happens in a decade. This is 500 million people that get injured, and 12 million dead. And what's the active safety and the autonomous revolution, and also, of course, implementing better passive safety and better roads and whatnot. But there's a promise here that we can actually address this huge societal problem, and it's really a worthy cause, worth fighting for. So that's behind it all. So how do we do it? We put in a camera here, for example, in the cluster. The camera could be in the cluster, it could be on the steering column, or on the dashboard, or in the A-pillar. It doesn't really matter. It's all a packaging issue. The most difficult thing right now with having a driver monitoring system is the packaging issue. It needs to be really small and smooth. We try to be hardware agnostic as much as possible when it comes to the SoC. We are working with, traditionally we were working with ARM-based platforms, but right now it's, of course, AI acceleration, GPUs, neural networks, accelerators, DSPs, Eve cores and whatnot. Also you need to use infrared light, and you need to use global shutter cameras. And that is to secure that you have a good performance day and night during strong sunlight and also nighttime conditions. Then we capture the data from the camera. It goes into the ECU, where we do our algorithms. And there are two levels of algorithms. So firstly, we can detect head position, eye position, identify the driver, look at the size of the pupil, gaze direction, these fundamental metrics. They can then be translated into the application layer, which is the next level of software, which we may or may not sell, because this might be the domain of the OEM, actually, to determine when is my driver deemed to be drowsy or inattentive. But I think the trend is that this is more and more going to be bought from us, the whole stack here. And then you send out the relevant information on the network, and the actuators take the relevant response. Here's a recording of let's call it futuristic vision of Mercedes or Daimler. This is a car which was shown the first time at CES in 2015. It's called FO15. And it's a really futuristic car. Inside of this car, there are six cameras in the dashboard, detecting the gaze and gaze behavior of both the driver and the co-driver, or let's call it co-passenger maybe. So this is like a vision about how easy and how smooth it is to be driving cars in the future when they are totally self-driving. This is a level 5 car. But as you can see in this vision from Mercedes, there is this idea that eye tracking is still there. Eye tracking is there, but as a convenience feature, something that makes the ride more intuitive, more fun, more smooth. It works together with gestures, it works together with swipes on screens and so on. so this is like the grandiose vision of level 5 cars, and that's also the vision, of course, that keeps getting a little bit delayed. When are we really gonna see massive deployment of level 5 cars? So if you take the grandiose vision on one side and just look at what is it that we actually offer and quote today to different customers. Of course, it's sleepiness. Monitoring of the passenger, the head post, position, where's the passenger. There is some level of HMI interaction being deployed or quoted today, even if it's not as advanced as was shown in the Mercedes vision. You can have enhanced warning systems. I mean, you have sensors, you have cameras, radars, lidars, detecting the surroundings, and you can adapt these warnings, these messages, depending on if the driver is attentive or not. You can see if the driver is alert or if the driver is inattentive, or most commonly if the driver is surfing on the phone. That's a very common thing that's illegal, at least here in Europe. We can do speech identification or speech detection to make it work together with a speak detection system. We can do Face ID, and then we can have just add a lot of great AI functions. I will come to that later, actually, the AI stuff. So this is quite a familiar image about the different levels of self-driving here, and how are these different layers going to be deployed in the automotive industry over time. So level 5 comes last, and we are at level 2 right now, knocking on the door of level 3. And this is, of course, level 4 and 5 have a tendency to be a little bit coming, sometimes a little bit later. But how do we use eye tracking? And of course, if you get to level 5, if you were to go to level 5 and you don't want to do the convenience stuff that Mercedes were envisioning, I mean, maybe you wouldn't even need any driver monitoring at all, right? So that's sort of a thought or a background. But at the same time as you have these enhancements of current system and enhancement of self-driving cars, we also have another force in play. That's the legislative path. So the European Union has been proposing lately, and this is very recently, during February and March they have been voting in the European Parliament, where they basically have said that we are voting for a new legislation that will come into effect about 2024 or so. Now, the European parliamentary legislative process is not very fast. It needs to go out to the member states and so on, come back and be voted on again. But basically, we believe that there will be such legislation, that there will be mandatory driver monitoring, detecting drowsiness and detecting inattention, and it cannot be steering wheel based or anything. Also, you have Euro NCAP. Euro NCAP is the organization in Europe that rates the safety level of cars, and they have clearly stated driver monitoring will be mandatory for even a 4-star or a 5-star or a 5-star rating. And you have also the United Nations. This is actually the decade of road safety. I don't know how many of you who knew that, but that's how it is. So what it comes down to is that if we look at even level 1 cars, the cars that you drive without any machine interaction, these you will not be required to have the. There's supposed to be some text here, but it's very grayish. But what it says here, driver monitoring is this column here, the rightmost column. It's not. It's required by Euro NCAP already on level 1 cars, which is in Europe every car, right? Level 2, it's also mandated by Euro NCAP. But for level 2 plus, level 3 and level 4, you also have, because of functional safety demands, you will have drive monitoring on all these cars pretty soon. And for a level 5 car, it will not be required. It will be the kind of just based on user experience and intuitivity and so on, that you will have it. So this is the current market picture here. I was so glad that the dinner was hosted at the BMW Museum yesterday. I get to see all 4 cars actually that have from BMW that currently have Smart Eye systems installed, or Smart Eye software, I should say. There's a tier 1 doing the system. So it was great to see that. I hope there will be more BMWs soon. Geely have also allowed us to talk about that we are supplying the software to their new electric car platform that is going to launch next year. Then we have 43 cars more, or total 43 cars, which we have been awarded, which I cannot tell you who it is yet because they need to go on to the market yet, so they have to be anonymous. And hopefully this number will grow and grow and grow. And I can just a few. I mean, the way forward-looking cameras were implemented quite rapidly. Let's say from 2011 to today, with a huge growth. We actually believe that the interior camera will grow even faster. Just have a look here at some of the AI features. This is things that are not yet really in production, but this is the thing that we're showing the OEMs and trying to convince the OEMs that this is great stuff that they should have. So this is a facial expression neural net. It's a convolutional neural network trained with deep learning, and it can detect to see if the driver, what mood the driver is in. And of course, I mean, you could make smileys and so on with this, but I would say right now we see that the main purpose is to use it in our drowsiness algorithm and being able to distinguish yawns from when you do other stuff like sing or yeah, to be able to do that. So that's one thing which is coming in the future. What you see here now is that we have left this infrared camera with infrared illumination paradigm, and we're actually going towards having color cameras. So you will have to have both set of cameras in the car of the future. You need the infrared to have the detailed view of the driver, but here you have a more zoomed out color camera, and then you can start doing detecting body posture, counting the number of passengers in the car. You can calculate the mass of the passengers, so you can make the car ready for the weight and so on. You can also have hand gestures and body posture. Also, another thing which is very important is that people actually sometimes forget that they have a child in the car, and they forget it in the car. And this is, it's terrible, really. I think about 40 kids die every year in the US alone for this reason. But we will be able to save those children in the future, and we will detect if there is a child or a pet, or if you forgot your wallet or laptop or whatever in the car, that will be detected and taken care of. And also you can see if someone is not wearing their seat belt, or sometimes some people put the seat belt in, but they sit onto the seat belt, which of course can never be really safe. So that can be detected too. So, this is just the value chain. We are here as a software tier 2. You have the big tier 1s supplying the big OEMs, And basically, I would say more than 80% of the OEMs have either, of the top 20 OEMs, they have either sourced or are in an RFQ process for driver monitoring systems right now. Okay, that's all. Thank you.